Hello and welcome to Tête à Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest this week is Varsen Aghabekian. She is the Palestinian foreign minister. She joins us from Ramallah in the West Bank. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for hosting me.
The war between Israel and Iran had pushed back the war in Gaza and the Palestinian issue to the back burner. Now that it seems to be over, are you hoping that, on the contrary, there could be some momentum towards ending the war in Gaza and addressing the Palestinian issue?
Yes, we hope that the ceasefire on the Israeli-Iranian front is sustained, as any return to a war situation is a destabilizer in the region and probably in the world. And any diversion from Gaza would be at the expense of the Palestinian people and their plight and struggle for self-determination. So we need not to lose sight of the genocidal war in Gaza, no matter what. And we hope that the turn now is for the Palestinians to take time to breathe and be liberated from this occupation, and this genocidal war ends, and there's a sustainable ceasefire on that front.
Right. Do you have any interaction with the Trump administration? We know the Trump administration has not been very forthcoming in its contact with the Palestinian Authority, but did they tell you in the last few days that they are, as President Trump himself indicated, eager to find an end to the war in Gaza?
I think President Trump is eager to forge peace in the Middle East. And as such, you cannot ignore what is happening on the Palestinian-Israeli front. And if peace is to be forged, then the rights of the Palestinians need to be respected. We try to keep the lines of communication open. We use whatever means we have to get to the ears of President Trump so that he really understands the plight and what it takes to have a real peace in the region. Not any peace that is dictated, but a peace that can all sides live with in the future.
Right. Do you think that Hamas is even weaker now, given what has happened in Iran? We've seen Iran penetrated by Israeli intelligence, displaying clearly a weakness by the regime. We know the links between Iran and Hamas. Do you think that this could play a role into maybe Hamas making more concessions?
I think all parties to this genocidal aggression on Gaza have been weakened in the last 21 months. There has been a lot of aggression and fighting with so much destruction. It would invariably mean that, yes, it has weakened whoever is engaged in this war. And we hope that the time has come for all sides to say enough is enough, and we need to move on the political path that continue this military route that is taking us nowhere.
Right. One side that doesn't seem to be weakened is the Israeli side. We've seen Israeli offensive in Gaza. What is the Israeli plan in Gaza? Reoccupation, resettlement, maybe also coupled with annexation of the West Bank, where you're speaking from?
I think Israel has made it very clear through its officials who have been voicing very clearly their intent. There is no strategy for this war in Gaza. And if Israel is asked today, what are you doing in Gaza? Even the people in Israel are asking, why are we fighting in Gaza? The answer is clear. The answer is for Israel to stay, because they say it. They don't shy away from it. They want to make Gaza Jewish again. And the intent is to stay in Gaza, continue the annexation, because this is an annexationist regime. It's an annexationist ideology that believes that it is there to stay, and it is there to annex the whole area, and not just the area covering the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem, but beyond that. So Israel is clear about its annexationist policy. Now it is the time for the international world and the international community to say, you know, there is international law, we need to have people accountable for violating international law, and only a peace path whereby the rights of the Palestinians on their land in Palestine, the 22%, as enshrined in international law, would bring peace and security for any side in the area.
Well, speaking of the international community, one of the victims, quote unquote, of the Iran-Israel war was a conference that was supposed to be held at the United Nations, co-sponsored by Saudi Arabia and France, on the recognition of a Palestinian state. The French president had indicated that he was maybe willing to do so. The British also said so. Any indication if this conference will take place, and if you now believe that key European countries, G7 members like France and the UK, will take that step soon?
The conference is more warranted than before. Today, that conference has to be held. Unfortunately, it was postponed, but it will be rescheduled. The committees working as part of this conference continue their work in preparation, preparing the ground for whenever the conference is held. We hope it is rescheduled soon so that it takes place within the coming weeks. That conference will safeguard the two-state solution. It will delineate measures towards materializing the state of Palestine, because those who are co-sponsoring the conference and those who are actively engaged in the conference truly believe that the only viable solution for the conflict and end of occupation is the materialization of the two-state solution. One state is already materialized. Now it's the time for the other state, meaning Palestine on the 22% of historic Palestine. That conference will also set obligations to countries and will require their commitments towards steps on the ground so that each country is accountable for materializing those steps. It will also hopefully bring further recognitions. Today, 149 countries have recognized. We expect that that number will go up.
Right. President Abbas wrote a letter to the French president prior to that conference saying what Hamas did is unacceptable. Hamas has to give up its weapon. We know one of the conditions put forth by the Western countries is that Hamas not only has to give the weapons, but its leadership has to leave Gaza. Is this what the PA is also demanding from Hamas?
What President Abbas put in that letter is something that he has been uttering for months. He was very clear about it. He was very clear about the future of the area, and he was very clear about, Hamas and the weapons of Hamas. If Hamas wants to be part of the Palestinian political scene, then it has to subscribe to the mandate and agreement signed by the PLO, which says a state of Palestine living in peace and security next to Israel.
Just on the issue of sanctions, some European sanctions have taken sanctions against far-right Israeli ministers. There was also call of maybe suspending the EU-Israel Association Agreement because a review by the EU says Israel may have breached its human rights obligation under that pact. However, the German Chancellor already said that Germany will not be in favor of suspending that agreement. Your reaction to that?
The reaction is very simple. Anyone that violates international law should be accounted, should be held to account. Israel has been violating international law and Article 2 in that specific agreement for a long time. And a report by the EU presented at the EU meeting has said that very clearly. It listed 38 violations by the state of Israel. That should be enough justification for holding Israel to account and taking measures on the ground, if not suspending the agreement altogether, but at least each country to take measures so that Israel sees that there's a price to pay when there is wrongdoing.
Just as a conclusion, we saw votes in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, against the two-state solution, overwhelmingly against, given the situation on the ground, given the weakened situation of the Palestinian Authority. How can you still truly believe in a two-state solution, given what we've been seeing and what you described at the onset of this interview?
I will continue, and the Palestinian people will continue to believe in the two-state solution because it is the only viable solution today. If people think that the two-state solution is not viable, the other solutions are much less viable. Other solutions would entail a one state for all of its citizens. Israel will not accept that. It might entail maintaining the status quo. We will not accept that. The world should not be accepting that. The world should not be accepting people to be occupied under a belligerent occupation for long, because it is against international law and it is against the ICJ ruling that said this occupation is illegal and it must end. The other option is that we live under an apartheid state, and we Palestinians will fight an apartheid state because this is not the future that we want for our children. So the two-state solution remains the most viable solution, and it is the best for the Palestinians and the future of Israel in the region.
Varsen Aghabekian, Palestinian Foreign Minister, I want to thank you very much for being our guest here on Tête à Tête, France 24's flagship interview show.
Thank you.